On July 4, 2014, a Friday, the Muslim Day of Prayer, Baghdadi appeared with bodyguards in the prayer hall of Mosul's Great Mosque of Al-Nuri, famous for its hunchback minaret, which bows inward by several feet from the perpendicular. Local legend holds that the tower's crooked shape was caused by the Prophet Muhammad himself, who passed overhead as he was ascending into heaven. Those who attended services that day might have perceived a similar warping of the temporal order when the Islamic State's chief officer walked to the front of the mosque to declare the restoration of the caliphate. ISIS had made a similar declaration a few days before, but now Baghdadi was making it official from the minbar of one of Mosul's most sacred sites. The former Zarqawi disciple had clearly given much thought to his first public appearance, for he infused each moment with symbolic gestures, sure to be recognized by the devout. Baghdadi wore a black robe and turban, evoking the dress of Allah's last prophet on the day of his final sermon. He climbed the steps of the minbar slowly, pausing at each one to emulate another of Muhammad's habits. At the top, as he waited to begin his sermon, he pulled from his pocket a miswak, a carved wooden stick used for oral hygiene, and began cleaning his teeth. Again, the act deliberately invited comparison to Muhammad, who, according to an ancient hadith saying, advised followers to make a regular practice of miswak, for verily it is the purification for the mouth and a means of the pleasure of the Lord. He finally faced the audience to deliver a formal declaration of victory. The caliphate, sought by the movement's leaders since Zarqawi's time, was at last real. As for your Mujahideen brothers, Allah has bestowed upon them the grace of victory and conquest, and enabled them, after many years of jihad, patience, and fighting the enemies of Allah, and granted them success and empowered them to achieve their goal, he said. Therefore they hastened to declare the caliphate and place an imam, and this is a duty upon the Muslims, a duty that has been lost for centuries and absent from the reality of the world. In the sermon and in a separate audio address, Baghdadi claimed to be less than eager to accept what he called this heavy responsibility. I was placed as your caretaker, and I am not better than you, he said. Yet he decreed that faithful Muslims throughout the world were to obey him in all matters as the head of the Islamic State and the guarantor of a new order that would soon become accepted reality for non-Muslims, whether they wished it or not. Know that today you are the defenders of the religion and the guards of the land of Islam, he said. You will face tribulation and epic battles. Verily, the best place for your blood to be spilled is on the path to liberate the Muslim prisoners imprisoned behind the walls of the idols. So prepare your arms and supply yourselves with piety. Persevere in reciting the Koran with comprehension of its meanings and practice of its teachings. Baghdadi said, "This is my advice to you. If you hold to it, you will conquer Rome and own the world." His sermon finished, Baghdadi, the self-ordained caliph, descended the minbar's steps in the same cautious fashion. He stopped briefly to pray, then marched out of the mosque with his bodyguards, preparing to fight, and then, Allah willing, to rule.